They do not want the responsibility of you. And as soon as you let your guard down, I don't want that for you. I want you to have beautiful experiences. I want you to be able to have who you want, not who you have to be attached to because they're paying the rent or they're giving you a couple dollars or you're relying on them to eat. Never put yourself in a position as a young woman to rely on a man or a romantic relationship in order for your survival. So that's a powerful takeaway. Write that one down, all right? And I talked earlier about patterns and breaking generational curses. So I would tell my younger self to watch out for patterns and generational curses. Like I alluded to earlier, look to see if Grammy, had to stay with the man and had to put up with the beatings, had to put up with the verbal abuse, had to put up with infidelity, had to, do anything she can just because she was in the man's house. I want you to check for those patterns because those things repeated in your family does not mean that you have to repeat them, okay? You have to break these patterns and generational curses. It's going to be up to you, not because you're the women before you, all right? Your ancestors would have endured certain things does not mean that you have to repeat them. Not because Grammy struggled means you have to struggle as well. So if you see a pattern, be very diligent about changing your variables, all right? You may explain your past may explain your past does not have to define you. Sorry, what am I doing? Your past does not have to define you. So even if you fell down, understand that you can get back up. You don't have to stay down. As young women, we're gonna make mistakes. Don't be hard on yourself. Like I tell my students, don't beat that dead horse. That milk is already spilled, all right? All we can do is clean that up and move on. Don't let your past define you. Don't feel because, you made a mistake, right? That you have to sit there and rot in it. Make that mistake and move on, all right? Yesterday has already happened. Today is happening now. Tomorrow isn't here yet. But we have the ability to have full autonomy, agency, and sovereignty over our lives. So never forget that is what I would tell a young woman. And then I would also say, I'm at number 7 now, health and wellness. Take care of your body. This body has to carry you throughout your entire life. Move it. Eat intentionally, eat properly. I know especially when we're in school, a lot of us are on the slender side. And then when the first year comes, we're like, oh my God, what they call it, freshman 15. Don't allow yourself, don't lose yourself, all right? Eat intentionally, don't, just put anything to your mouth because it tastes good. Have a plan, have a diet plan. And when I say diet, be intentional about what you're consuming. Have your vegetables, drink your water, stay away as much as possible from sugary drinks, stay hydrated. And I want to tell you something very important. And I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. Black does crack. I know we have this thing that, I'm black, so you're going to age. You're going to age. And black does crack. It can and it will, all right? Take it from me. I've seen a lot, and I'm also a woman in my becoming. I've experienced a lot. Wear your sunscreen. Don't, think that you could do anything to your skin and that you're forgiven because you are a black woman. Black can and will crack if you do not take care of it, all right? Be careful of your consumption of alcohol, the high sugar contents, right? These things take a toll on your body. And so how you care for your body today determines how you will live tomorrow, okay? Take on personal development, all right? never stop learning. I know when I was finished with college, I'm like, oh my God, they were like, always be a lifelong learner. And I'm like, no, I don't want to see a classroom ever again. But I have found that as a young person, always have yourself open to becoming better. All right. Always try to seek knowledge. You're never done with acquiring knowledge. All right. Have hobbies. Read. When I was in school, they said reading is the key. Open a book and let your mind run free. Sharing a story is a gift to give. Reading lets imagination live. I must have been in lower primary when they were doing that reading campaign to my school. But it's so true, because reading allows you to sit with mentors, sit with thought leaders around the world, in many cases where you would not be able to sit in those rooms. But when you open that book, you have another way of thinking. You now have this knowledge that compounds over time. The more books you read, the better you're going to get. I read Atomic Habits by James Clear. I hope I got the author right. I've been reading so many books lately, but I like the fact that it talked about habits compounding over time, and that we get 1% better every day. And so I would say to you, make it a point to read, to acquire knowledge, because you could never lose when you're investing, in your mind and investing in yourself. And in the same vein of personal development, develop hobbies, find things that you actually enjoy, journaling, reading, anything that you have interest in, crocheting, knitting, who knows, sewing, content creation, anything that you actually enjoy, that keeps you grounded with self. So go ahead and, bask in those things. Never stop developing yourself and investing in yourself. All right. Lifestyle and exposure. Number 9, romanticize your life, right? Never stop romanticizing your life as a young woman. In every decade, in every stage of your life, never stop romanticizing. I would say with even the little things, we talked about taking care of your body earlier. So get yourself a cute little water bottle, that would encourage you to develop the habit of drinking water. All right. Normalize packing nutritious lunches instead of buying things out. Romanticize your life, wearing cute pajamas, throwing away anything that has holes, bleach, old, get rid of it. Romanticize your life as much as possible, and also to have exposure. Travel far, travel wide, immerse yourselves in new cultures, immerse yourself in all things that allows you to expand your horizon. You're a young woman. The world is your oyster. As much as you can, travel. Be safe, mind you, but travel. And when you travel, let's not just do it for the aesthetics. Journal. What are some of the things that you've seen? What are some of the things that you've seen? What are some of the experiences? What are some of the experiences that you've had that makes your life richer? What are some of the things that you're curious about? Go backpacking, in Europe. Be safe, experience things. It expands you. It makes you travel makes you so much richer. You never come back the same, and it becomes addictive. And I think when you travel, how we talked earlier about, not tying yourself down to toxic situations and relationships early on in your life. When you travel, it's harder for you to do that, because you see that it's so much more. You get exposed, you're able to see that, I'm not confined to my country or my town that I'm from. I am able to be a global citizen. So travel, expose yourself. Do not tie yourself down as a young individual, as a young woman. That's very, very important, because exposure expands your perspective. And number 10, network. Be intentional about your circle. All right. Who you around shapes who you become. So get yourself involved in positive things. You know, we talked about hobbies earlier. Maybe you want to join a tennis club. Maybe you want to join a golf club. You know, maybe you want to associate yourself in things like I know there's Toastmasters and Kiwanis and all of these different things like that. Okay, where you get to network with like-minded people. So expand your network because who you are around shapes who you become. Number 11, presence and style. Develop your personal style, right? As a young woman, I know, you know, we're in the age now where class is something that is, you know, I don't know, it seems to be something for the elders. Choose class. When in doubt, as a young woman, choose class. I'm not saying to, you know, put on your muumuus and move around the world, you know, like that. But I'm saying to do things in taste, you know, tailored clothing that doesn't reveal too much. You know, understand combinations. So if you're wearing something that shows a little bit of cleavage, maybe you don't want to have that short as well. Maybe you want to have something longer, right? So class is just tastefulness. You could be sexy, you know, you could show off your assets, but don't give too much, you know, leave a little bit of mystery, all right? So I would tell my younger self to develop your personal style, and when in doubt, just choose to be classy. You could never regret it. It adds value to you. And don't give away everything, ladies, okay? Don't give away everything. We know that, you know, everything is on the up and up. You're young, I understand, but keep some things for the mystery. All right? And discipline and habit. Number 12. What you do daily compounds. Okay? The life you want is built daily. So there's nothing that just haphazardly happens. You know, these are things that compound over time. So garbage in, garbage out. You don't want to look up one day and say, oh my God, where did my youth go? Where did my body go? Where did my health go? You know, where did my life go? You want to be able to be intentional so that you can live an abundant life. So you could say, listen, I've been working on this, so I know what to expect 5 years down the line. I've set my goals, so I know what to expect 5 years down the line. Now, life is not always going to be perfect. Of course not. Nothing is. And nothing is sure or lasts forever. But we can be intentional about planning. You know, we can be intentional about setting goals so we could have that trajectory to say, okay, I've been working on this over time, so I expect this to happen. And guess what? Suppose it does. In most cases, if you are alive and you have a plan, it will come to pass. All right. So these things, what we are doing definitely will compound over time. Our daily habits compound over time, so there would be no surprises. All right, the life you want is built daily. And so lastly, in conclusion, I would tell my younger self, if I could tell my younger self one thing or a few things, I would tell my younger self one final thing. Be intentional. Be intentional with your time. Be intentional with your money. Be intentional with your energy. Be intentional with your life. Because life doesn't just happen, it responds to how we show up. So I want to thank you for spending this Saturday with me on my balcony. And I want to encourage you to live intentionally, to live abundantly, and to always remember to always center yourself. All right. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye-bye.